Yes! Maestro Shark here with Maestro's Medicated Coding Tutorials, new backend formula. Nothing soothes a rusty brain like Maestro. Wow, look at that shine! With a little bit of Maestro and an insane amount of luck, you too can code like me! Ka-chow! Good morning, creators, and welcome to another UEFN tutorial. In this episode, we are going to be covering how to design a vehicle respawn system in Verse. Not only will this respawn vehicles and players into vehicles at checkpoints in the race, it will also allow you to load racetracks, and it's an awesome system, so let's get right into it. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is create a new Verse file. So go to the Verse Explorer, right click, add a new Verse file to project, and we're going to call this the racetrack respawn device, and create. Then you can double click to open it. Alright, with this open, I think the first thing we should do is add everything we're going to be editing in our device, which first off we have the checkpoints, so we'll call them checkpoints. These are an array, so we're going to use square brackets, and it's going to be a race checkpoint device, and set that equal to an array. We also want an array of vehicles. We'll call this vehicles. And we're going to make this type something we don't have defined yet. So we're going to call it vehicle stuff. We'll call it vehicle stuff class. And that'll be another array. It's not defined yet, so let's go ahead and define it down here. We'll call it vehicle stuff class, which is a class that is concrete, which means editable. All right. And the last thing we're going to be able to change is a toggle for respawning the player. So we'll call this destroyed vehicle kills player. And that's going to be a logic. And by default, we're going to have that as false. Basically going to be saying that if this is toggled true, it's going to kill the player if the vehicle gets destroyed. Alright, so our vehicle stuff class is going to have 5 variables. The first one we have is going to be called maybe agent, which is an optional agent, which means that somebody could be assigned or no one could be assigned to this. We'll set that to false. We're also going to have initial position, which is going to be a transform. We're going to set that equal to transform. Now to access transform, we need to have the spatial math library. So paste it in up here, spatial math. All right. We also need a variable called kill player, which is going to be derived from our logic right here. So we're going to make that a logic. By default, set it to false. Doesn't matter what it is because we're going to set it through the code. We also need the vehicle, which is going to be something we discuss in a second, so I'm going to comment that up. And we also need our anchor prop. So this is going to be called anchor prop of type creative prop, which is, of course, a creative prop. Add curly brackets. So vehicle. There are so many vehicles. If you go to the Fortnite Digest on the left side and search for vehicle, you'll see there are so many vehicles in the map. I'm trying to find vehicle spawner device. We'll show you all the vehicles that you have in the map. So you have the sports car, you have the taxi, the surfboard, all of these. You can search for what you need inside of this digest here. But for my tutorial, I'm going to use the vehicle spawner taxi device. I'm going to copy this and paste it in right here. So whatever vehicle you're using, make sure that you paste it in here. Otherwise, your code will not work. So hopefully everybody who is copying and pasting the code down below knows to set the type to whatever vehicle you need. So instead of this vehicle stuff class, we want to have the initialization function. We're going to call it init. we're gonna have the I'm gonna call it kill PL, which is just gonna be our kill player logic from up here, and it's going to turn nothing. So we're gonna set kill player equal to KPL. We also want to set the initial position equal to anchor prop dot get transform initial, like that. We're also going to call two functions, and these are going to be called player respawn loop and also vehicle respawn loop. Let's go ahead and find those down here. So we have player respawn loop. This is going to be a suspended function. And so we use spawns. And we're just going to, for now, print player respawn loop. And we're going to call the vehicle respawn loop, which is also a suspended function. And we'll print vehicle respawn loop like that. There are three more functions in our vehicle stuff class. Those are clear, reset, and register. So register is going to have an agent, basically registering the player who joined the vehicle. And for this function, we're just going to set maybe agent equal to option, and then in curly brackets have a. Reset is going to be a function that resets the entire device once you're done. Oh, there's actually another function. Let me add that here. We're going to call this TP vehicle. It's going to be void. We're going to have a transform, so T of type transform. And then we're going to do if, in parentheses, anchor prop dot teleport to T, like so, curly brackets. And this is just going to teleport to the prop to wherever your transform is. It's a very useful function. Reset is going to be what you use if you have a race that's not set on the round system. This is going to reset everything to the original location. It's just going to be a little bit better. So reset everything. And it's going to like reset it as if nothing has happened. So we're going to set maybe agent equal to false. So remove the agent. We're going to teleport the anchor prop back. So if anchor, or actually just TP vehicle. And we're going to do the initial position. That'll teleport the vehicle back to the initial position. And then clear is just the opposite of the register function, where you're going to remove the agent. So set maybe agent equal to false, like so. All right, before we continue in the vehicle stuff class, let's go ahead and initialize our stuff. So we're going to do for v in vehicles. We're going to do v.init with destroyed vehicle kills players. That's going to initialize your classes. You also want to do for C in checkpoints. And now we need to create some functions. So we're going to do spawn. We're going to call this check for joined player and pass v. And we're going to call another spawn function called check for checkpoint reached, which is going to be C. Define them down here. So check for joined player, which is going to be of type vehicle stuff class. Return void. Make sure it's a suspend function because we're going to use some time-based stuff. I'm going to go ahead and print checking for joined player. And we also want to have the check for checkpoint reached function. Oh my goodness, I can't type today. And this is going to have a C of type race checkpoint device. Checkpoint device. Return nothing. Make sure it's a suspended function. And print checking for checkpoint reached. Obviously, every player is going to have their own vehicle, so we want to assign that in a player map. So we're going to call this var vehicle stuff per agent of type agent in square brackets like that to indicate the key. And then we're going to have an optional vehicle stuff class. Set that equal to map with curly brackets. Okay. All right, so in this check for join player function, we're going to want to first do a loop, meaning that it's going to constantly be checking throughout the entire code for when somebody joins this vehicle. So we're going to do v.vehicle dot agent enters vehicle event like that dot await. So this is a method I actually saw from EP8 script, very talented verse developer on the verse forum. So credit out to her. Go check out the post that I linked below. Very useful trick here. So basically what we're doing here is if I click on this, you'll see that in a vehicle spawner device, when the agent enters a vehicle, it can send an event. What await does, it will wait for this event to occur. And you'll see it passes an agent. So in our racetrack respawn device, we're going to set agents equal to this. So the code will wait for that event to happen. Then it will grab the agent from that function. And so first thing I want to do when I have an agent who just joined the vehicle is clear any vehicles they might already have. So if v is equal to vehicle stuff per agent at agent, add a question mark, it's an optional. So well, actually we'll call this my vehicle. We're going to do my vehicle dot unregister agents. Let's define the unregister function here. So unregister a of type agent, return nothing. So we're going to do if maybe agent with a question mark is equal to agent, which is just going to check if the agent currently stored in this vehicle is the agent that is supposed to be unregistering. If it is, then we are going to clear. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything because it means somebody else is stored or no one's already stored. This is just a way of checking to make sure that if people are swapping vehicles throughout the game, which I doubt they would be, but just in case, making sure that things don't get mixed up. So we're going to unregister. And then we are going to v, which is our current vehicle stuff class when we want to join, v.register our agent. And then we need to set our vehicle stuff per agent map. So set vehicle stuff per agent at index agent equal to option v, like so. All right, the check for checkpoint reach function is going to do the same kind of thing, or it's going to loop, and it's going to have another await function. So we'll do agent is equal to c dot, and let's just click to see where I grabbed this from. You'll see in the race checkpoint device, it has a checkpoint completed event, which means you just passed that checkpoint. So c.checkpoint completed events dot await, like so. Misspelt it. That's working. Cool. Now you want to, if they have a vehicle, teleport the vehicle to that checkpoint. So we're going to do if my vehicle is equal to vehicle stuff per agent for this agent. And then we're going to my vehicle dot TP vehicle. And this is going to be the transform of the checkpoint. So c.get transform. And that's your check for checkpoint reach function. All right, time to tackle the function that's probably going to be the most difficult. And this is going to be a loop. And we're going to have the vehicle dot destroyed events dot await. So it's going to wait for the vehicle to be destroyed. And then if kill player, we're going to get the fork character from this player. So maybe agents question mark dot get fork character. Now to access fork characters, we need to add the characters library in our reverse device. So fortnite.com/characters. And scroll down. Now we can damage the player. So FC dot damage. A lot of 9s and a 0.0. This will kill the player. Yeah, it'll kill the player if that kill player is set to true. Otherwise, it will continue on. And this time we're going to wait for the vehicle to respawn. So vehicle.spawned event await. So the vehicle was just destroyed. We just killed the player if kill player was enabled. And then now we're waiting for the vehicle to spawn. Next, we need to teleport the player back into the vehicle. To do this, we're going to create a race. And inside of this race, our first element is going to be the vehicle agent enters vehicle event. We're going to wait that. So whenever the agent finally rejoins a vehicle, we'll know to break from this race. Otherwise, we're going to loop, sleep for like 0.1 seconds. And then we're going to get our agent. So if agent is equal to maybe agent with a question mark. If we don't have an agent, in the else statement, we're going to break from the function or from the loop, which means that, oh no, there's no more agent in the device. That means we don't need to keep waiting for someone to join because there's no one there. But if there is an agent, then we need to do vehicle.assign driver with agent. Now, I know some people might think to add a break here, but that would be very unwise because assign driver will only work if the player is alive and the vehicle is also respawned. We know the vehicle is respawned because we waited for it. We don't know that the driver is alive because they could be respawning. So we're not going to have a break here because we'll be waiting for the player for this assign driver function to finally activate. And when it does, it'll feel great. Now, in my testing, I had to add this. So a race normally will break out of a context like this. So what a race does, it will basically start both of these statements at the exact same time and let it run until one of them ends. So like this one's the one that's going to be the ending one because the other one's just a loop. When that's done, we're going to set a value. So I just had to do this in my testing purposes, so I'm going to do it here because I think it's what we have to do. We're going to call this race complete, which is going to be a logic. Set it to false. And inside of your loop here, for some reason it was not breaking the loop, so we need this test here. So we're going to do if race complete, we're going to break from this loop. And at the bottom here, we want to do set race complete equal to true. So in my testing, whenever the agent finally entered the vehicle, it would exit this race and then set this race complete equal true, which would actually cancel this loop here. Without this, the loop would keep going no matter what. Even though it should be canceled, it kept going. So this is just a safeguard for that. I realize my respawn loop here is kind of dumb. So instead, we're going to create a function that will destroy the vehicle whenever the player dies. So if they respawn, if they leave the game, if they do all these kind of things that will kill the player, and we want to respawn the vehicle, we will. So let's call it around here. So agent enters vehicle events. We're going to do if fc is equal to agent.get fort character. And in here, we're going to initialize an event that we'll call respawn vehicle, which will use a elimination results. And return nothing. All right. So we're going to do fc dot eliminated events dot subscribe respawn vehicle, and we need to include the fortnite.com.game library, so we'll add that here. Cool. One more thing, I want to add a map, so we'll call this the player spawned map, which will be agents and our logic equal to map. And basically just here, we're going to add a check. So if player spawned map at agent question mark, we're going to make that a not, meaning that if the player has not spawned, then we want to initialize this eliminated events. Once it has been done, we want to set player spawn map for this agent equal to true. All right. So this eliminated events, we are going to get our agent. So if er.eliminated player character dot get agents, like that. We're going to set that equal to agents. We also want to get our vehicle stuff per agent. So vehicle stuff per agent in our agent. Then we'll assign this to letter V. We'll do V dot vehicle dot destroy vehicle. Make sure we have a question mark at the end here. And so what this will do is destroy the vehicle. The player just died. It's going to destroy the vehicle, and that means that it will be waiting on the vehicle respawn loop to activate the driver. So that's the whole script. Now is to show how to use the script. So we're going to go into the editor. Make sure that you hit verse, build verse code. You can go to your creative devices and find the racetrack respawn device. Place it down. You're going to want to add your checkpoints. I already have a racetrack here. So make an array of your checkpoints. You do not have to list them in order. Just make sure that you have all of them in this array. You also need the vehicles, of which I only have 2, which are both taxis. And you also need a anchor prop. So the anchor prop I usually do is go into your content browser, create a new blueprint class, building prop. I'm going to call it, get back here. Anchor prop. Double click to open. Editor only static mesh component. We're going to have a cone. And this is going to make it pretty easy to visualize. So place it down, probably wherever you want to start spawning the vehicles. I think that's just the best place. So like near this first checkpoint, you're gonna want an anchor prop for every vehicle. So if you have like 5 vehicles, have 5 anchor props. Keep them at the same location though. And then in your outliner, find your taxi devices or whatever vehicle you have, and match them up with each prop. So take the vehicle and then slide it into here. They should become children of the anchor prop. So you'll see that they have this little indicator here that shows that the taxi in this case is a child of the anchor prop, which means that you can move it around like so. And then you can go back into your verse device, set your anchor prop, and then you can toggle destroyed vehicle kills player on or off depending on what you need. As far as the vehicles go, I mean, you can have pretty much any setting in here as you need. So respawn time, you can set to whatever you want. Like, I don't think there's much that could break it in here. If you do notice something breaking, you might want to mess with some settings, but I mean, this should work fine. I'm going to set the damage to 0 though, so I don't explode myself. So there's one more thing that I slightly looked over at first. Let's just test it out. You'll see that the respawn mechanic is working correctly, but the location of the device is incorrect. So let's respawn. You'll see that instead of spawning in the correct location, I spawned over here. Now what that means is that the prop here, when it gets teleported to my my checkpoint here, instead of teleporting it like this, it's teleporting it like this. Which is obviously incorrect, not what we want. So to fix that, we need to do a little bit of an adjustment. So inside of our verse device, we're going to apply a little bit of a yaw, a little bit of a rotation to counteract this issue. So we're going to call this at editable yaw. We'll call it yaw degrees of type float. And by default, we'll have a 0. And down where we are going to change our checkpoints with the get transform, we're going to cut this out and make a variable. We'll call this transform of type transform is equal to c.getTransform. Now we need to apply a little bit of a yaw, so transform.rotation is equal to transform.rotation.apply yaw. And we're going to do degrees to radians. And then this is going to be our yaw degrees. Like so. And it's going to be set. Inside of here, put our transform. Head back to our editor and compile our code. So a lot of racing maps have multiple tracks. So just to help y'all out, I'm going to create a system that will load vehicles into whatever track you select. So the way I'm going to do that is add a class, and we're going to call this the racetrack class, or call it like the racetrack loader. It's going to be a class concrete. And all you're going to have in here is a trigger. So trigger of type trigger device. We're going to make that editable. And you also need a checkpoint that will be the starting point of your race. So checkpoints of type race checkpoint device. And that's that. You're going to want to add these to your file, of course. So we're going to have racetrack loaders of type racetrack loader. That's going to be an array. And then in our onBegin function, we want to spawn an event to handle these calls. So for, We'll do RT in racetrack loaders. We're going to spawn a function that we'll call down here, which is going to be called load racetrack. And we'll use the racetrack loader as a parameter. So RT type racetrack loader. And this is going to be a suspended function. Return nothing. And we're going to loop rt.trigger.triggered events .await, like so. So we are going to spawn load racetrack with RT as a parameter. Remove the parentheses there. So once this trigger is triggered, we are going to get the transform of our checkpoint. So checkpoint transform is equal to rt.checkpoint.get transform. Cool. And then we're going to follow a similar structure to check for checkpoint reached. So we're going to get all the vehicles and we are going to teleport them to that transform. So instead of getting the vehicle per agent, we're just going to use the vehicles right here. So for v in vehicles, v.tp vehicle, and we'll use our checkpoint transform. And as one last thing, we want to destroy all vehicles currently in the game so they will respawn over there. So v.vehicle .destroy. Let me check. What do we call it? Destroy vehicle. Okay. Go back. It is called destroy vehicle. So that will destroy the vehicle and also move the spawner to where the new checkpoint or new race is. So whenever you are loading a track in your game, make sure this is assigned, of course, and you can call that trigger whenever you want. When that trigger is called, it's going to teleport all of the racers over to that new track, and it will work as expected. Logically, to figure out what the yaw needs to be, we can take what it looks like in the engine. So in the engine, it's facing this way, which is 90. So we know to counteract that, we need to have our applied yaw being -90. Set it back to 0. So we're going to go into our device and set our yaw degrees to -90. And then we can push changes and start. All right, testing. Get in and we run. All right, go into the damage volume. You'll see we respawn facing the direction we're supposed to face. Make it past that corner. Do a little bit of drifting. Oh no, let's go into this one. See what happens. Ah, we made it. Keep going. Full blast, full blast. We're almost there. And finish line. Alright. What happens if I respawn? Let's see. Respawn. Vehicle gets destroyed. What happens when I spawn in? I spawn in my vehicle. Awesome. Alright, so that's the entire tutorial. If you found it helpful, please consider subscribing. Leave a like. And following me on my socials if you're interested in my content. Other than that, have a good day and good luck creating.